Hi, I'm Tasneem Gould of GSTA Product Management Consultants, and I'm sat here with Dorenda Britten from Unlock Innovation. GSTA does a lot of work around product strategy and building great products and solutions, and this is how I met Dorenda a few years ago. I've been really lucky to be inspired by her in many different ways over the years, and I'm hoping to work closely with her as we unlock innovation for New Zealand and beyond. Hi, Dorenda.
Taz.
And a little bit of a shout out to Kaushik from Dark Matter Studios, who is helping us put these series together.
Yes, thank you, Kaushik.
So, Dorenda, tell me a little bit about yourself. I find your story so interesting. Tell us a little bit about what makes you you.
I'm still working that out, as we all are. However, I was born into quite a entrepreneurial and inventive family. And at a very young age, I became really entranced by my mother's younger brother, Peter Hurren, who was at that time working at the Canterbury Museum. He was at the time when I first remember him, playing with plastic, which he got from the Industries Fair in Christchurch from ICI. He got some samples, and he was introducing plastic as a material in the museum instead for little creatures and flowers instead of ceramics. And so I spent many months in the museum with him. I guess I was the babysitter. He was the babysitter while I looked at drawers of awful insects, and became quite fond of the museum. That sense of curiosity has been with me all my life. I look at something and I wonder how it works and how it could be better, if it's performing in service of human beings, nature, and if it can be created, it could create a business around it that would help people. So I suppose I'm a human-centered designer in the lingo of today. I did study design at Canterbury University, not very successfully. I left shortly before my finals because I couldn't cope with the set program. The set program wasn't satisfying me, as it hadn't satisfied me at school. Always in trouble. Stop asking questions, just do the work. So I gradually morphed back into design, but created my own vision of what design is.
When I first met you, you had just launched the Dorenda Britten Design Institute. And I came to one of your workshops. And those 10 principles of design I thought were really interesting, because I worked in tech. There was a bunch of other people that worked in all these different sectors, but those principles were universally applicable. How did you come up with some of those?
Being dissatisfied with the way things were explained. I had taught design thinking. I had met, because I've travelled widely, I'd met a lot of international designers. I'd met some of the people who I suppose promoted design thinking, and I found it, though useful, it's shifted New Zealand into a different place, but not useful enough for the 21st century. So when I looked at what didn't work for me in design thinking, it was how you set up a team. What constitutes a good team? And I started to notice that when we talked about diversity on teams, diversity was fairly and squarely described as gender and culture. Okay, it stopped there. And when I said things like, what about neurodiversity? People went, oh, you always make things so complicated. Was so difficult at the time to deal with that. Suddenly we're in a world now which is intensely interested in neurodiversity. I'm particularly interested in the tech sector, is training more New Zealanders or inviting more New Zealanders into our growing tech sector. We don't have a shortage of skills, in my opinion. We have a shortage of pathways. So yeah, so that's how I started.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I am probably one of those people who ticks a lot of boxes on the diversity checklist. I even have some hidden things that many people don't know about. But neurodiversity is one, again, you can at least see my hearing aids if you pay attention, but people can't see what's behind your eyes or inside your brain. And that's quite interesting, isn't it? And that brings us a little bit to where we are today, which is Unlock Innovation. Tell us how Unlock Innovation came to be. How did it start?
I spoke at a Women in Tech function one evening. It is quite a long time ago, probably 3 years now, and it was right after COVID, or in the last throes of COVID. And afterwards, the head of HR came to me and said, look, you spoke about neurodiversity. Could you help us? We think we might have quite a few neurodiverse people in here. Could you help us understand it, and also to find us a channel of new skills? I put together a proposal with a woman I had just recently met. Her name is Anne Brown, who did her PhD at Canterbury, is from the UK. She's a co-design expert, and we sat down and we wrote a proposal, but the whole senior management team of that company left, and we were a bit stranded. So I took it to Canterbury Tech, and our mutual friend Neil Hamilton was then leading Canterbury Tech, and he went, yo, we're going to do this. We're going to actually look at more neurodiversity in the tech sector. So that's where we started our relationship with Canterbury Tech, which has been very, very helpful, very fruitful. In fact, we couldn't have got anywhere without them. So it was decided quite early that we would concentrate on dyslexia because it is the most common by far.
How many people have dyslexia?
It's thought globally it's 1 in 5. Now, many of those people don't know they're dyslexic, they just think they have a neuron missing. And I'll come back to that later on. But, school often traumatises people who think differently. They're trying desperately to fit in, but they never fit in. And the pieces didn't kind of quite make sense to me yet. So, so we started, we wrote a proposal for the tech sector exclusively, that we would look at neurodiversity and the dyslexia in the tech sector. Neil helped us get a grant from MB, and I got a top-up from Vodafone as it was, and we got a further top-up, small top-ups from tech investors. And we went ahead and started the research, because all good design outcomes requires research. Yeah, and I know the business sector gets a little bit worried when we talk about research. You know, the business sector really likes momentum. Solutions. So we weren't registered as a business yet. We were a group of 3 people. We brought in New Zealand's top dyslexic expert, Chris Cole from Invercargill. She's worked in the education sector for a number of years, and met her at a conference, and she came on board, and the 3 of us worked with this MB fund. In the meantime, what we did is we pulled in Inde, Focus with a PH, and Trimble, 3 well-known Christchurch tech companies, and we worked with them to identify possible dyslexic people, which can be quite sensitive, and we invited their top tier HR people and culture people, along with their selection, let's say their group of dyslexic people, to 3 half-day workshops. And we practiced co-design here, and what we found was amazing. What we discovered was amazing data. We've got it all on a Miro board, several Miro boards. We haven't been able to find the like anywhere. I believe as a design practitioner that it's not in the adage that we don't design for them but with them, with people, not for people but with people. So that's where we got to, yeah. How would you describe the most memorable moment? I mean, just stop this for a minute and say that we ran 3 half-day workshops with your team, with your people and culture, people and development team, and the 50% of the people in the workshops were themselves dyslexic, self-identified, which was in itself amazing because that can be tricky. People do hide, and you can understand why. They've been traumatised probably through education, through other experiences and applying for jobs, etc., etc. So you jumped into this opportunity, and there must have been a most memorable thing that happened during those 3 half-day workshops.
There was actually, and it relates exactly to what you just said, which is about how tricky it is for people in the workplace to identify as dyslexia and to ask for the help that they need. And it was an engineer who was there from a different organisation to ours, and he was talking about this, and he said, asking for help when you know that you're different is like being in a swimming pool, drowning, flailing your arms around, trying to get some help, screaming out for help, and everybody saying to you, your cries for help are upsetting the other people in the pool.
Yes.
And I stopped and I was like, yes, that is what it's like. When you genuinely need help, but actually your ask for help, your cry for help is treated as an inconvenience by those around you. And for so many neurodivergent people in our workplaces, that is what they feel like because that's what their entire upbringing has taught them. Every time that they have asked for help, they have learnt that they are an inconvenience. And if they could just fit in with the system, that things would be better for them.
And we call that working around, you know. They do the most amazing workarounds so as not to be the target of, you could say abuse, but no, I'm not going to say abuse. The target of othering, you know, being seen as a wrong fit. So they tend to work longer hours, most of it in their own time, to get to the same result. So, so we're talking here about dyslexia. By the way, we're not talking about the number of other neurodiversities, because the reason I've chosen dyslexia for our work is that dyslexia is by far the greatest in number. We now say about 1 in 5 people globally are dyslexic. I hate the word dyslexic. Anything that's got dys in it makes my hackles rise, but never mind. We've chosen the tech sector because technology now is everywhere. It involves every aspect of our lives interacts with technology in one way or another. So we saw this as the way to actually approach it.
I think that picking the tech industry to start with is a bit of a stroke of genius, to be fair, because being in tech, I can tell you that we live and die by our innovation, because everything that is a game changer today becomes table stakes so quickly that we constantly have this need to keep thinking innovatively. The flip side of that, of course, is that the more successful you are, the more process you put around and the more bureaucracy seeps in, and the we do things this way type of mentality. And so it's really important to have that circuit breaker that says, how can we be more creative? How can we be more innovative and still make this structured? Not just we'll take a couple of days, go somewhere, be innovative, and then carry on.
I've been involved in some of those sessions, off-site sessions, and to be honest, I never felt that they created long-term change. I saw evidence of people with entirely different thinking being closed down. Look, we're here to come up with a solution. You're slowing the process down. but that's exactly what we need. If it wasn't for the chance meeting for me with Corey Laverty from Blue Rock, and the long story, the short story is rather that we achieved that grant, which I'm very proud of. And I'm very proud of it because it indicates their belief that this is innovative. With that fund, we were able to set up Unlock Innovation Limited. It's a 3-way partnership. We have someone involved in the tech side of it. We have someone involved in a partner involved in the dyslexic side of it. And there's me, who through this partnership found out that I was dyslexic. It wasn't a surprise. It was put to me as a question. And also it was put to me, and I would encourage this to happen to other people, was put to me in a positive light. So these are your attributes. Think about it. These are your deficits. Think about it.
Finally had a name to assign to the thing that made you feel different.
Absolutely. It made me feel different, made me feel outside of the day-to-day world. The reason I can't stop asking questions, the reason I need to understand why. It's the way my brain is structured.
And this is a huge asset. To be honest, this growth mindset, curiosity, hunger for learning, for improvement, that is absolutely an asset. And we need to make sure that people who are born with this naturally have a pathway to actually explore and engage and make that connectivity with innovation and use it in a productive way. So you have stated that one of your goals is that you want to support the 20% of the tech sector who are currently underperforming.
Who may be currently underperforming.
Who may be currently underperforming in their work.
Because they're not understood. If you're fighting, and many people don't know they're dyslexic, as I mentioned before, and their tendency then is to cover it up, to compensate. I've been compensating all my life. I know what that feels like. It's the time it takes to do something in an administrative role that would take someone else 5 minutes takes me an hour. I do it because I'm hard on myself, but it's not efficient. Yes. It's not effective. We need to be ourselves. But we also need, in dyslexic people really need the left brain people who are process orientated. We can't operate in the world without that.
Which is a really good time to mention that I'm helping you guys with product strategy and market validation, because you need some left brain people to come in and channel all that creativity.
Undeniably. I can have all the ideas in the world, and I have had a lot, but we need the other side as well.
But this is what success, even as a leader, has always been taught to me, is that you have to surround yourself with people, not people who look and talk and think like you, but people who can bring different perspectives, because you need all of those different lenses to make a fully featured solution that works for everyone.
I ask too many questions and it slows the process down. And I can remember from the chairman, and yes, Dorenda, we've got an agenda, but we were providing answers to questions we hadn't really asked. And I don't see the longevity of this. I don't see it being a successful process. So I was talking to the head of a design department the other day and said, look, we need, for designers, we were talking about what designers of the future need. And one of their critical jobs when they're out in work is to actually make a case for slowing down in order to speed up. Yes. We can't speed up unless we know what we're doing and that we've answered the critical questions.
Yeah. So one of the goals you mentioned to me was you want to help businesses to be more innovative and productive with the talented people they already have.
Yep.
And this is part of what you're just speaking about.
Yes, I am. We started off thinking this was a recruitment idea. It so obviously isn't in the first instance. Those are the insights you have when you're doing the research. It is about bringing forward the skills that are already in your organisations now. Okay? Recruitment's expensive. It doesn't always work long term. You can recruit people into your organisation and they leave. They're not happy because they don't feel supported. Incidentally, I think unsupported people in large companies who are dyslexic often go jump out and into the startup sector. Great for the startup sector, but terrible for larger organisations. And we would know that we've got government departments that are struggling with this. Just the utilisation of the skills they have and the happy, fulfilled workplace. We came to Inde and asked if you'd be prepared to work with us to research the existence and the role of dyslexic thinking in an organisation, in a tech organisation. What were you thinking then when you were first approached?
I was incredibly excited because obviously I'm passionate about helping bring out people's strengths, but also one of my sons has learning differences. He's not dyslexic, but he has autism and dyspraxia. So I every day see the struggle of what it's like to have strengths and so much to offer and not being able to offer them because the world around you can't quite interpret them right, or you can't quite write them in the right way. For instance, his big thing is he's got dyspraxia, which means his handwriting is atrocious. He's a very, very smart boy, but in school he struggles in tests because everything that we test in school is tested by your ability to write clearly and fast. And if you can't write clearly and fast, it doesn't matter how much history knowledge you know or the fact that you know everything in the world about geography.
Yeah.
If you can't write that quick enough to get it down on the test. No. And so it's the same with dyslexia in the workplaces. Some of our smartest people at work are dyslexic. They're absolutely brilliant. And in all the organisations, they offer so much strength. But if we don't know how to shape our systems and processes so that that can shine through, then they can't shine through.
And ultimately, you've said that we want to create a way for businesses and individuals to work together to unlock this productivity and innovation for the good of everyone.
That's right. So it really is. So our work is unashamedly targeting not so much dyslexics, but the people and culture function of an organisation. All right? Because it's them that need the insight. And I must say that I don't think that's taught in the training at the moment. So we're missing a lot. It's not anyone's fault, it's just evolution of our thinking.
So what is your current state of play? I know that you've done some research, you've got some funding, you're in the throes of understanding this problem more deeply so you can design the right solution.
Yeah, well, we brought together an advisory team, including yourself, Tasneem, early in the year. And through that, it was decided that we were better off with a two-pronged approach, and that we needed to bootstrap and we needed investment. So we decided not to be a charity. I've had some experience in charities and didn't want to go down that road again. I think this needs to be a business that's sustainable. So on the bootstrapping side, we have developed our first product, Dyslexia in the Workplace, and we have run that. At this point in time, we've got a lot of interest, and but we have run it once in Christchurch, and to great effect. The organisation that we've worked for is owned by Christchurch City Council, and they have been overwhelmed by the new ideas and the way that the thinking we've brought to them. So we ran a half-day workshop. After that, everyone wanted to be dyslexic. I wouldn't recommend it. Well, maybe in the future it'll be good fun. So yes, we're out there selling that course now, that half-day course. We're also embarked on a very important piece of research with our original team. And that's what we're raising money for right now, both for the Callaghan Fund, because it's a dollar for dollar fund, but also extra funding that can actually fund the second stage research, which is about the connection, exploring and making clear the connection between dyslexia and innovation. It needs to be useful.
Absolutely.
So that's quite a big, pardon me, a big piece of work. And I'm talking at the moment to a New Zealander offshore doing a PhD, and we're talking to the University of Canterbury. We're talking to a number of people that can help us get there.
And the ask is essentially that you're looking for a donation or the ability to run a paid workshop that will then contribute towards a pot of money to fund this.
That's right. The workshops are important for us because they're also a learning opportunity. We give and we learn, you give and we take. That's really important to us as we develop our understanding. And so, yeah, in the meantime, we have that one product that I'm very fond of. It's worked well, and it's on our website, Dyslexia in the Workplace. So yeah, so we're looking at the moment, talking to the high-tech community. I have spent almost 30 years as a volunteer at the judge at the high-tech awards, New Zealand high-tech awards. I think they're not quite 30 yet, but it's getting on for 30 years. I've seen a lot of tech pass over my desk. I'm not a great user. I'm not an apologist for technology. I understand that we need technology to make advances in society. And so I've judged a lot of sectors in the tech sector, but I've landed on tech for social good, which I really like.
So if you're a company that is interested in thinking about diversity and inclusion and trying to think about how you can do something that will engage all of your employees, then give Dorenda a call. Is that right?
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about your vision. You said that your vision is threefold. You want to educate businesses on dyslexia. You want to help explore connections between dyslexia and innovation. And this last one I think is really great. Engage all employees and tap into different ways of thinking. Can you talk a little bit about where you're going with, where do you see Unlock Innovation going with this vision?
I'm very pleased to say to you is through our research and through workshop experience, what we've found is that to offer some assistance to dyslexic people and indeed other neurodiverse people helps the whole organisation. So I'm very, very adamant that we don't create a situation in reverse where the left brain people, who are the process people, feel less than the creative people.
It's not an us versus them, it's a go together.
It's together, and I think that's really, really important. And that's one reason too why I haven't actually until recently come out and said, look, I'm dyslexic too, I understand, because this isn't about me. This is about a huge proportion of our people who are maybe in work or later on otherwise disengaged from the workforce because they feel less than able. Okay, they're judged, they think they're judged because they can't read and write necessarily. I've just been invited to be part of a panel that's presented to some very booky people, and my topic is reading is not the only way to learn. It isn't. Who said reading and writing was the only way we can absorb information and process information and communicate? It isn't.
Absolutely. When we do our training, we follow a principle of learn, apply, do, which is sure, you can learn about some things, either through reading or, sitting in a classroom session or doing some interplay, but then you apply it. You actually immediately want to see what it looks like when you take a concept and figure out what that might be, and that helps you go out and do. And really, it's the do part that's most important, because practice is what makes perfect.
Oh, it is. And having come from a very dyslexic family, didn't hold some members of my family back from coming up with new ideas. It's just that the bits they couldn't do, they asked other people to do. They were aware, they had some self-awareness. And I think that's important. But today, many people are not given the opportunity for that self-awareness. They're so busy protecting themselves.
How can anyone watching this interview today take action? How can they support you? How can they take action in their own workplace or in their own life?
Well, I would say, wouldn't I, that contact us through our website, www.unlockinnovation.co.nz. We also have a LinkedIn site, a brand new LinkedIn site. Connect with us there. We would love to run a half-day workshop for you. I think that's the starting point. And there are lots of ways that we could do with assistance. It is a mission. This is a business for good. This is not me making a mad last dash to actually make a pile of money. It's taken a huge amount of personal investment, and it will do for some time, as all businesses do.
Yes, and it has the potential to have massive impact. 1 in 5 people.
Look, neurodiversity is all of us. We're all neurodiverse. It's just that some people haven't really been recognised as on that continuum. Okay? It's a little bit scary.
So for anyone who is in HR, who's thinking about wellness, about learning, and about inclusion, talk to you about running a workshop, about the solutions you provide, and about putting a longer term program in place to make sure that all people feel included.
Absolutely. I mean, we are lucky enough in the last few months to have partnered with Inde Tech. And so we're feeling some growth opportunity now, but we can't do it alone.
Thank you so much for coming in and talking to us about this very important topic.
Thank you, Taz, and thank you for your ongoing support.